1, com check.
DC Dragon has you loud and clear. How many?
DC, loud and clear. Stand by for com checks with MD.
Dragon, MD on countdown. MD on Dragon to ground, com check.
MD Dragon has you loud and clear. How many?
MD, loud and clear. Stand by for com checks with LD.
Dragon, LD on countdown 1, com check.
LD Dragon has you loud and clear. How many?
LD, loud and clear. Stand by for com check over Dragon to ground.
So we just had the communication checks across the ground stations and the TDRS satellite network. You're watching live coverage of NASA and SpaceX's Crew 7 mission to the International Space Station from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. NASA's Daryl Nail joined by NASA astronaut Jessica Meir as we count down to liftoff. Right around T-minus 3 hours and change. And since then, they've gone up the launch tower and into the Dragon, where they are strapped in, secured, had their suit leak checks, individual comm checks, and spacecraft communication checks. And now we are awaiting the closure of the side hatch. Exciting, and we will have all the best views. It certainly will be exciting, and we'll have all the best views as they go into space. If you're just joining us, you're watching live coverage of SpaceX and NASA's Crew 7 mission to the International Space Station from here at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Never get 100, though. It just has to be, 95.
Well, we've got a lot of overachievers on board. That's probably difficult for a lot of people in our office not to get that 100%. It is Florida, though. It's always unpredictable around here, with winds, with thunderstorms, clouds. Luckily, we don't see any of that tonight. (7:16 a.m. in Copenhagen), so Andy's fans are probably waking up. What a great way to start their day over there in Denmark. Great start to a weekend on a Saturday morning.
Absolutely. Wake up.
Responsibilities and so our next step will be closing that side hatch. Is that right? Waiting for that move?
Yeah, that's right. We expected that at T-minus 2 hours and 13 minutes, but they have a window of time in which they can close that side hatch. And then they'll pressure test it, do the leak check on the side hatch.
Getting some more thumbs up from the crew. More waves.
And Dragon SpaceX, the closeout team is taking its final steps in preparation for side hatch close.
Flight service for them, but like that question that was asked earlier, there will be water and snacks.
And as we await side hatch closure, if you've got a question for our own Jessica Meir, NASA astronaut, just punch up hashtag #AskNASA on the social sites, Facebook, X.
The International Space Station in all of its science and operations during their stay there. So what does that mean? You know, now that we are at assembly complete for the space station, which we reached back many years ago, 2011, I believe it was, assembly complete, we have much more time for doing what we call utilization. So any type of scientific experiment or something that is flying as a hardware demonstration, those are our most important objectives. That science that we are getting done, of course, is in different lengths so that we can try to forecast ahead toward our really long duration mission, which will be to Mars. You know, that mission right now with current methods
And
of
Dragon
technology will
SpaceX,
be about 3 years.
we are commencing a health check for the launch escape system. Expect a momentary flight computer state change followed by a transition back to pad hatch closed.
SpaceX Dragon copies.
So when you go to Mars, it takes about 6 to 9 months to get there, 6 to 9. Measure brain waves, look at brain activity during sleep. So pretty cool EEG on board. You know, I speculated that it would be so cool to have an EEG on board crew members to see what's happening to the brain when you first go up in microgravity for the first time. Because you are navigating in this three-dimensional environment for the first time. You know, sitting here, of course we're in 3D, but we're not really using things above our head, in the ceiling, on a ceiling, and that kind of thing. On the space station, would kind of reinterpret that as being the floor or the deck, as we call it on the space station. So then, when I, lifted my head up, I didn't know which way to turn because, I was on the ceiling, but my body felt like it was on the floor, and that takes a couple of weeks for your body to get used to. And I think these new neural pathways are forming. And such an interesting, I think these new neural pathways are forming. And such an interesting thing